August 26th. Got out here at 6:30 in the morning. This is Cold Creek, just west of Golden, Colorado. And it was cold this morning up here in the mountains. 43 degrees. August 26th, 43 degrees. That water was about 45 degrees. So I've basically gotten up to here in the water, and I'm working my way deeper as I go. And I'm just hoping, as the sun, I just crested over that mountain. It's now shining on the water here, so it should heat up that water until at least 50, probably within an hour. So, anyway, I've been doing some shallow sandbars over here, and one spot in the bank I was just testing. I took all my concentrate for the last 3 days. Washed it in my blue bowl. Actually, it's the blue-black bowl, and it's got that down. Really, it's. I see some evidence of black sand coming out here, and there's undoubtedly going to be microscopic gold too rushing out. There's nothing I can do about that. That's the optimal water flow. I think I had too much water yesterday flowing through it. It was blowing out a lot of the really fine gold, so I turned it down. I got some wing nuts, but they're not the right size, but at least they're doing their job. They're holding it down. They're the type of wing nut that's not like uniform, 1/4 inch, but it's like a tapered 1/4 inch, so it only goes as far down as the top of the wing nut. But that's okay. I got 2 wing nuts on there. That's holding it down enough. So, without any further delay, that bucket just has a little bit in it. Everything's been washed through there. I found 2 little tiny specks of gold, so that went into my little suction bottle. And I've been slightly fortifying my coffer dam. So I'm going to go back here to this layer of clay that seems to have a lot of gold dust in it. So I am in the probably about 47 degree water. It's cold. I'm gonna try to go a little faster today because yesterday I was just taking my time trying to get every last speck, but you know, once you stop seeing the dirt go past and it's clear after you've shaken it a while, then you've washed all the rock. Inspection for that shiny yellow. And see, at this size mesh, then you would be able to see it. So it would be visible. So that's why it's a good way to not just dump the raw stuff on here. For one, if you were to dump the raw aggregate onto your sluice, it would clog up the ripples, and that would just cause all the gold to go shooting down there. Although most of the fine gold ends up, even before that first ripple, it just gets stuck under the carpet and just pushed deeper and deeper into the carpet. Gold normally, once you start shaking it around, it falls to the bottom. It's heavy, so when you're sluicing like this, the gold will just stay at the bottom. It won't even mix. So that's why you kind of pancake it, and the gold will then reveal itself on the top once you flip it a couple times. As I dig down, I hit a layer of seems like basalt, and it's jagged basalt, so it's kind of hard to dig. If I see a sparkle, a nice yellow sparkle, like this, there's a lot of like sulfur compounds that look like gold, but do the crunch test first to see if it breaks, shatters, you know it's not gold. I'm not going to bite it with my teeth, that's for sure. You see this crack. Crack my country. Well, closer inspection. I'm not sure if it cracked or my fingers cracked. So yesterday, after it started raining at around 2 o'clock, so I had to call it. Although, of course, as is always the case, as soon as I put everything away, the sun came out again. So I ended up taking a hike down this trail, and there's like probably about 12 old gold mines that are sunk into the this side of the mountain, not this side, but this side, and got a little bruise, just a tiny one. I was kind of like climbing, trying to climb in one. I lost my footing, just scraped this tiny. I said, no, I could see that you need to wear knee pads, hand pads, a hat with a light, so that you're not. I was holding the camera with a light on, and that's the thing. I should have had 2 hands. So learned a lesson. I immediately exited that cave and said, no more of that. It easily breaks. Some kind of sulfur compound. Alright, well, first sulfur looks like gold. Yeah, the Blue Bowl took care of a lot of that concentrate. I mean, all the concentrate. So basically, that bucket had at least a quart in it from yesterday. So I see now it's down to maybe half a pint. Maybe a pint, but still significant reduction that I need to deal with. Plus I have the gold specks in that bottle, probably about 12 of them. I still don't think that adds up to much, but it's always nice to find solid gold. And they come like little tiny stars. Weird, these gold specks. They're like little tiny, like 6-sided or 7-sided stars. Weird. Little tiny things.
Just you're looking for gold and you're looking for specks. That's usually the stuff you'll find.
See, that's picking up some of that black mud. So that's where I've been finding a lot of the color. Yeah, the problem with this is that I should have like a little basket here that can like roll and or at least sway back and forth, and I could put the aggregate in it and walk away, and that would be really nice. Or even Gorilla bars so I could do continuous feed. That would be nice. You have to wash the rock. There's still color coming out of the bottom. It's still, it's not transparent. There's still a little coloration, discoloration. Look, it's mud. I hope it's mud. You gotta stand up from time to time because your back's not made to do that. Water level, even though it rained last night, well, I mean, it didn't really, it was sprinkling. So the rain started at 2, ended at 2:30. I went for a walk, came back at 5. Then I took a drive. I wanted to see what was beyond Black Hawk. And I took a drive until the road, the pavement ended, until it turned to dirt, and then I said, no, I'm not driving on this. So I turned around, then I went the other way, and there was a road that kind of circles the mountains and goes back to Boulder, Colorado. That road is really interesting. It doesn't have the cliffhangers that Route 6 over here. Actually, it's not Route 6 anymore. I think this is Route 119. But still a beautiful drive, and I was still going up in elevation, which was amazing. The other way, when I hit the dirt road, I hit the Continental Divide, so that was kind of cool. So I took a whole bunch of video yesterday, and I have 2 different cameras. This camera seems to work really well. It doesn't cut off. The other one was cutting off after 2 or 3 minutes. I had some nice speeches about asteroids, gold, and where gold comes from. Again, most of this is theory, speculation. There is some science behind it, but still, it's unproven. We just don't know what happened in the past. But the Rocky Mountains formed 65 million years ago. The dinosaurs died 65 million years ago. There were open volcano lava fields in India 65 million years ago. They keep on talking about this Chicxulub asteroid that struck 65 million years ago. Unfortunately, that asteroid still wouldn't have caused the amount of destruction that they're talking about. My theory, just a theory, it's a hunch, but if you put all those things together, you put all the, how basically all the forests of the world burnt 65 million, just like 250 million years ago, the Great Dying, all the forests of the world burnt. And 65 million years ago, there was a good char layer too. I mean, they claim Rhodium, but which I agree. I'm thinking that the Gulf of Mexico was also formed 65 million years ago by not the Chicxulub, but by something more massive, like maybe 100 miles or plus in diameter. The Chicxulub was maybe a fragment of that one, and then there was two other large impacts that hit just south of Cuba. Cuba used to be part of Central America, and if you actually put Cuba part of Central America, it hooks up beautifully with Florida to form a crater. So if an asteroid hit and formed the Gulf of Mexico, and then one hit moments later, that continental crust would still be what's called fluid. It's shocked. It hasn't like settled down yet. So Cuba basically made a 90-degree turn after something hit it. Something hit strong there, and then something also hit in the Caribbean, just north of Panama. Now, it could be just coincidental. I'm not saying that all three impacts, and these impacts were huge. They have to be 50 to 100 miles in diameter. These things that impacted, because a Chicxulub thing can't turn Cuba 90 degrees in 65 million years. I mean, maybe there was some drift, granted, but I think all that happened in a blink of an eye, or at least within 10 minutes.
So interesting, but another thing I was talking about is
You shouldn't contemplate like I was just doing. It's not a waste of time. You really need to focus on gold mining. And since I'm contemplating, I'm going to go on. Now I got some nice sunlight here. I could really see the gold when it shines. So the sun now is coming at a nice angle.
it's hitting the sluice, and I'm trying my best not to rock the strainer to get these little rocks into the well, I think they call them hydro ripples, but I don't want to clog them up. But this basket I think is a little bit too big. I should take smaller scoops. It would work a lot faster.
Anyway, that was one story that I was talking about yesterday that I thought I caught on film. And the real funny thing yesterday was my other camera took a dive into the creek for about 2 seconds as I was scrambling over the rocks trying to grab it after the wind blew it over. And it survived. I can't believe it. Samsung 8S. Unbelievable. So it wasn't even wearing its protector, which that's my fault because I took the protector off because it was I thought the protector itself, when I put it on the tripod has little grips that grip it. It was causing the protector to push the on-off button. So I thought that was the case. But I found out that I don't like this. There's a program called Bixby or something on, and if there's an update, it will like stop recording like after 2 minutes, because when an update occurs or something, it loses its rights or access to write video to the hard drive. I don't know, to file. I don't understand that. So I have a Samsung 7J, which is the one recording right now. It works perfectly. It'll record for an hour. And I have an extended battery. I mean, anyway. So, it's good to have stories. I'm in a creek called Cold Creek. It's a tributary of Clear Creek. Clear Creek runs from the Great Divide through a lot of the mountains. And there's a better chance to get gold on Clear Creek because it cuts through ravenous S-turns. Basically, there's S-turn, S-turn, S-turn. So, and the rock is jagged and it's all what's the term I'm looking for? Not magma, but it's not necessarily cutting through basalt. It's cutting through metamorphic rock. So there's a big M. If you're traveling west on Interstate 70, you'll see it up in the mountain. I don't know what that stands for, but if anybody knows, write in the comments what that M stands for in Golden. But obviously, it doesn't stand for Molson or Michelob. Anyway. Getting back to my story, there's a road that goes right by Cold Creek, about a half mile down, and a lot of miners camp out there. So that is not a good place to prospect because it's been prospected out. I can't really say that because there's some mountain ranges. I don't know if you look over there. Basically, it looks like someone was mining this entire hillside. Right above that first looks like, I don't know what's going to call it, mountain cutback. Anything above that does not have any gold in it. That's all like, I mean, it looks like granite, but or marble, but it doesn't. It looks more like sandstone. Same thing on this side. So there was a layer of sandstone, mud, or whatever that's not gold bearing that's above there. Below that, then you're going to find all this metamorphic rock and basalt, stuff that would come from a volcano. There's also a lot of concentration of iron. A lot of these red rocks, you see, has a lot of iron in it. And there is fool's gold, which is iron pyrite. So you see that. So, and I had a story yesterday about the Indians. I don't think that caught, but the Indians used to take rock and whether they find copper, gold, silver, they would cut the rock open, and rocks here break upon the mineralization. So if you have a gold seam in there, you hit it with a hammer or you throw it, it'll break. And usually it'll break upon that seam because that seam is the weakest link. Especially gold, since gold is noble, doesn't really amalgamate with anything. I mean, it will entwine itself, yes, but it'll still break upon that fault. So the Indians would take the metal and hammer it, and that's how they would hammer all this metal together. Maybe stick it over hot rocks, and it would, after it becomes pliable enough, they would hammer it, and eventually, that gold would fuse together after so much hammering and heating and cooling, You know the gold has a melting point of a little over, I think it's 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Copper a little higher than that, like 2,200. Yeah, so the big excitement yesterday was my Samsung 8S. There was a gust of wind, blew it, and it landed in this creek for about 2 seconds until I jumped over and saved it. I dried it. The air here is very dry, so if something gets wet, you just hang it out on one of these dead sticks, and it will dry like in 10 minutes. It doesn't take long. A lot of the rain clouds. There was a lot here yesterday. None here today, although they forecast rain. Most of the rain here is south and still in Utah. It's heading this way, but very slowly. There's a high pressure or a jet stream ridge that's over Utah, but heading up towards Wyoming, which is, and there's low pressure south of here, which basically is recirculating the hot air in Texas over this area. So, except in the mornings where it got down to 43 degrees, now the sun's out, I could honestly say the temperature is at least up to about 65 right now. Just the sun hitting me, 65. This water temperature, I mean, I'm getting used to it, but it's at least up to 50 degrees by now. The temperature down in Denver has been getting up to almost 100 degrees, but that's a dry heat.
Well, it's yellow. It's yellow, so you have to stop. When you see yellow, you have to stop. Doesn't look like gold, but it is pliable. I mean, I can't bend it with my hands. Still a sulfur compound. I could crumble it. Gold would be slightly harder than that. It's too light. It could even be yellow paint from an old prospecting camp. And where I got that little bruise, it looks like that over here. It's not really big. So this one was not bleeding, and that one was bleeding a little bit. Yeah, what happens is, or what they've done, I should say. There's a culvert behind me too that takes water from this ravine, goes underneath the hotel that I'm staying at, and it's kind of interesting. It just pumps the water into this concrete culvert, which is huge. You can walk in there, and it's almost like a natural sluice. I was almost tempted to sluice the muck that's there in the bottom. This is a concrete floor, and it's about, I would say, about 8 feet tall. 8 feet tall and about 20 feet wide, so it's a big culvert. But these gold mines, they have big steel iron doors. Well, I say iron doors. Looks like they were put there in the way that they were manufactured. Looks somewhere between the 1920s and 1940s. But one of the tunnels has corrugated steel in a circle. I know that didn't come out until like the late 30s. So that was to prevent any type of cave-in from the entrance. A lot of the mines down by Blackhawk, they have, you know, the typical wooden entrances or the wooden shafts, which protect the hole from the elements and snow and whatever else, and provide heat, you know, so that in the wintertime they can still mine without being frozen or having snow falling. But one of the mine entrances here, it collapsed, and all the other mine entrances have not collapsed, but there's a big iron gate that you cannot get through. But that one that collapsed, that's the one I tried to get in. And it's interesting because it has shored up walls that have wood and big railroad pilings that are holding the walls in, and then they have a trestle for the roof and going across the floor too. So they made it like a kind of like a pyramid design where there's a wooden railroad tie on the floor, and then it goes up on an angle. It goes up on an angle, kind of like going towards the pyramid, but it doesn't. And then it kind of goes like a house roof, a little bit like that. So it goes like that, and then the floor. And then these things they're all shored up on the top too with wood. And that is really interesting. So whoever constructed that took a long time constructing that, and obviously they had to make the hole a lot bigger to shore it up like that. But the entrance to that cave collapsed, but not the cave itself. And that cave goes deep. It goes at least 100 feet down, possibly even lower than Cold Creek here. So I can imagine. Now it's high enough up the hill. It's about maybe 30 feet up the hill. This Cold Creek will get probably a raging torrent in the wintertime, probably about this high. So I can see evidence of these rocks being moved. So the water will probably get about this high, and all these rocks will just be pushed downstream for miles each year. So the gold will replenish itself. There's more than enough gold every year to replenish itself. Now, when I say gold, mostly looking at gold dust. The real gold nuggets, they're here, but just like in North Georgia, they're probably down about 2 or 3 feet. So you need an excavator to get to it, because
they're so heavy that just like in my blue bowl here, you can have a torrent of water because the gold just tries to find, gravity pulls it down so heavy it finds the lowest cavity it can squeeze into. But raging torrent like this, and this has a really good slope. It's at least at 5-degree slope. It could, if large boulders are causing eddies and currents and similar to hydro ripples, it could push a gold nugget up. A nice half-inch gold nugget up, and it could ride the current down a little bit because it could be other rocks underneath it that are pushing it up. But normally, what happens is when you have side eddies that are so the main current's going down the middle of the channel, and you have side eddies, rocks and fine dust will flow to the side, and that's why you'll find a lot more gold dust on the side than in the middle. In the middle, you're going to find the gold nuggets, but deep. So I'm actually excavating a hole here as I dig around the mud, trying to find one of those gold nuggets, because that would make it all worthwhile. One gold nugget, that's it. That would pay for it. And the real crummy way of doing this, I should have a power tool, but I went to many stores, more than 5 stores, looking for this battery operated pressure washer. Those stores had it. They're all sold out.
This is a dry season in Colorado, and one of the driest seasons on record. So unfortunately, the $100 40-volt cordless pressure washer, which still would only give me about half hour, but it would allow me to just vacuum all of this, and then I could have the outlet, because I have a dredge attachment similar to using these 1.5-inch pool hoses. I could just aim it right into the either the blue bowl or aim it right into my sluice, and the production would be so much faster. I do this entire stream area, but oh well,
they're out. And if I was to order it Amazon, I don't know if they ship this hotel, but
it would take 2 or 3 days, and I have to leave. So
I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. I always like looking at white quartz because it's easy to see like a gold seam in there. If there is one, I would take a hammer or another rock and split it open on that seam. I don't see anything there. I have to have good evidence. And remember, gold is bright, vivid yellow, and it sparkles. So you see these orange-looking rocks. You know they have some kind of sulfur. They could have copper if they're, but the copper looks very similar to gold. But copper turns green, tarnishes gold. Really, I mean, it is lackluster. You'll see here in the creek these sparkles. That could be silver, could be rhodium, could be platinum, palladium, could be fool's gold. I'm not saying it's not. Now on this rock, you know what? It could be gold. You're going to see this fine gold like that. And unfortunately, there's no way. I would have to wash that rock. And for it to be this high up, I doubt, unless I was like scooping it, like scooping it from the bottom and dropping it up accidentally, like I just did some. But, there comes times when, like 2 weeks ago, there was a flash rainstorm that caused this creek to go up a good foot. And the water here is really benign, only because I made this dam existed before I was here, but I shored it up and pretty much concentrated the water coming down these. my two hoses here into the blue ball and then down the main sluice run. But as you can see, I'm shoring up where I can go. There's still a lot of flow coming through here, but if this water was a foot more, these rocks would move. I mean, water would have that much power to move these heavy rocks. Some of these rocks weigh about 50 pounds. That rock, believe it or not, that red rock, that's a light rock. That weighs about 30 pounds. I mean, it's huge, but it only weighs about 30 pounds. So I don't know what that's made out of. It looks like it's made out of iron because it's red, but I don't know. It's light.
Maybe there's lithium. I don't know. Maybe lithium iron. Now lithium's worth money. If that was lithium, but I have no way of detecting this.
I told you yesterday, I bought, I didn't bring the blue ball with me. I'm from Fort Myers, Florida, and I brought my sluicing
With me. I was up in Georgia I think it was 2 years ago. And this thing worked out pretty good. Only got really black sand, a little bit of color, but nothing really. But Georgia, the gold is 4 feet down. You can dig down 2 feet manually with a shovel, but the next 2 feet, you're gonna hit huge boulders like that. You need an excavator, and in Georgia that's illegal unless you own the property. And you can't dig at the river. You have to dig without disturbing the river, and you can't have decimals within. You can't have a decimal reading of more than 50 within 50 feet of the river, even if it's your property. And in Georgia, the law is, and it goes back to the gold miners, because a lot of people, rivers were the navigation back in the colonial times, and riverbanks especially. That's where the wagon trails were. So people took boats to the river, and they took wagon trails on the sides of the river. So even if you own the land, and in Georgia, if it's unnavigable like this stream, you would own up to the middle. If it's navigable, you only own like 3 feet into the river. But there's an easement. I think I'm not sure if it's 50 feet or what, but people are allowed to walk on your property along the river, and it dates back to those colonial times. So, interesting tidbit. Alright, I'm going to start sluicing up, so I'm going to let you guys go. Do a couple more hours. Trying to work a little faster here. And turn the video on if I see something spectacular.